allowed to do enough.
How do you feel, Jim, that Carl Johanneson compares now in 2011 to say he was in 07, 08, 3 or 4 years ago?
It's difficult to say because we're no disrespect to Watson, but we're used to seeing him, against better class opponents. Also, we're looking at him here tonight. I've measured already 9 stone 12. And how strong will he be? There's a little bit of flesh there, but you wonder, could he get down to 9'4" and still be strong? He's 32 now. It's tougher to make the weight the older you get. But I'm really impressed with his work rate tonight. He started right at the first bell and he hasn't stopped. Hasn't given Watson pause for breath at any time. So you have to be impressed at 32. He still has his ambition.
And Anthony Crolla, a very different type of fighter to George Watson. He's on a real roll, his $1 million Crolla, sending Michael Brodie swiftly back into retirement, also coming off a really good win over Andy Morris. It's beginning to find big success, that Joe Gallagher stable, with the Murray brothers and Matthew Macklin due to appear in the States against Winky Wright in April. It's buzzing in Manchester, and a mouth-watering match in progress for the end of February. Still not over here yet. Watson is proud, he's tough, and he'll keep trying, but those body shots, aren't they going to weaken him, Jim?
Yeah, see, he's on the defensive all the while, so he's not been caught by surprise by any of the punches. He sees them, he's tensing as they come at him. It's when you're caught by surprise that maybe you wind up on the floor. But he probably has his neck muscles pretty tight, his stomach muscles are tensed, so he's taking these punches and he's blocking some of them as well. But it's a defensive strategy. Nothing that he's doing gives you the idea that he can win this.
And Spencer Oliver, it must be so tough fighting somebody like Carl Johanneson. You just can't keep off you.
Well, this is the problem, that Watson just doesn't carry the power to keep Johanneson off him, and it's becoming relevant now with Johanneson really pounding that body and throwing some good shots. And at the moment, it just looks like a matter of time before Watson finally cracks, because Johanneson is in complete control, really loading up with those right hands.
It's nice to see some rhythm back to his work. Carl Johanneson never became that European champion, but can he be a force as a British holder once more? Remember, Ricky Burns, who he floored 3 times and beat on points, is now a world champion. Anything can happen in this sport.
Ian, been allowed to set up anything of his own.
Here's the 6th round. The black boots and black trunks a la Mike Tyson of Carl Johanneson from Leeds, in with Newcastle's George Razor Watson. Actually, his name's John Watson, but you might know there's another John Watson on the circuit from Liverpool. Good fighter too, and he took the name George. Looking for win number 9, if there's any way he can stop the rot here. Needs something big against Johanneson, who is just beginning to cruise towards the victory, when it looked earlier on as though Watson might be able to come on. It's never really seesawed enough for Watson.
No, produced some nice little flurries. He can be proud of his performance. You have to remember the gap in experience here. So, it was a big gamble for Watson. Doesn't look as though it's going to pay off. But won't do him any harm career-wise, but it doesn't help his record any, because things haven't been going too well for him recently.
Nice body shot from Watson, who was an England international, an ABA finalist. Loved Sugar Ray Leonard as a kid, didn't we all?
Yep, the master, or one of the masters. That's a nice upper body movement from Johanneson there, making Watson miss. Every time Johansson's in punching range, he lets the punch go, and that's the problem for Watson. It's just the volume, not getting a chance to lead off at first, to take the initiative.
Blood from the nose. You wonder why this natural weight advantage that Watson has is keeping him in this. Otherwise, maybe Johanneson would have got rid of him, but it does look like he's beginning to suffer, Watson. The blood from the nose, more of a despondent look. It's almost a survival mission now for the North-East man.
Yeah, and Johanneson again winning the battle of the jab. I mean, that must have been the weapon that the Watson camp thought maybe would get him a result here tonight, the jab. But he's being out-jabbed now. He's obviously feeling the pace because he's been under constant pressure, you know, for almost 6 rounds here. So that drains you. When you're the one setting the pace, you can keep the pace going easier, and that's what Johansson's doing.
I wonder if Johanneson as well is just trying to rack up the rounds too, as he lands on that nose of Watson once again, because he's only had a couple of fights last year, 6-rounders against Youssef Al-Hamidi, Arik Malik. You know, maybe he needs more when he's going to go in against someone like Crolla.
What I would like to see, I'd like to see another fight closer to the super featherweight weight limit. That's what I would like to see, but another good round for Johanneson.
In the corner, I think around Glenn McCrory had a bit of time with George Watson earlier on in his career. We're into the 7th round now, 6 minutes left of this fight, made at light welterweight, and as Jim was saying, it's not near the super featherweight limit, but Johansson's going to have to make that by the end of February for the fight with Anthony Crolla, and whether that will weaken him slightly or make him very powerful at 9-4, we wait and see. All good tonight though.
Yeah, can't really fault him tonight. Nice start to the round from Watson. He got the jab moving, but we'll see if Johanneson allows him to sustain it. Doesn't look like it. That's better from Watson. Jab and move.
Nephew of Albert Johanneson, the old Leeds United left winger of the 1960s, Carl. And he remembers him fondly, as do many Leeds United supporters. More blood from the nose of Watson. You sort of feel sorry. It's a tough match for him off the back of a defeat, as Johanneson just chips away at the face, and he's beginning to land with more regularity. Watson looking to hold there.
Yeah, I mean, it's demoralising. He had a nice little spell with the jab in the first 20 seconds or so, and then Johansson's just taking it away from him again.
Taking his lumps and bumps though, Watson, and at least making a decent effort of this. Johanneson though, you know, if anything, he's got, well, more adventurous as the fights continue, which I think is interesting when he's going to go into eliminators and back into championship distance. Not slowing down, not one little bit.
Not quite the opposite. He's beginning to put his foot on the gas. Oh, lovely right hand. Looking for the stoppage now, Johanneson. Little feint before he threw that one.
Yeah, putting more meat into some of these punches. Last 45 seconds of the 7th. Watson's brave, but they're arm shots. Nothing hurting Johanneson. He could take him out, you feel, if he chooses to. And down he goes to the body. And Watson's brave, commendable effort might well come to an end. Breathing heavily, he's up at 7:20 seconds left in the round. He wants to go on, but Johansson's always been a good finisher, a predator. And will he let him off the hook?
See, that's the difference when Johansson's punches land cleanly on the target. Watson with a tight defence has managed to partially block, but that was a painful shot.
Not rushing in, Johanneson, looking to pick his shots, in no hurry, totally in control, and Watson happy to get back to his corner. Heart of a lion. They breathe them tough in the Northeast, as Glenn will tell you. Final round. Carl Johanneson, well, will he go for the knockout? Will he ease home? He likes to get the stoppages, we know that. But he hasn't really put a foot wrong through this warm-up fight for his eliminator with Anthony Crolla, which will be on Sky on February the 26th, unless there's a mishap in the final session.
Well, you can see with his attitude, he's looking beyond this fight, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, he sees a future. This is not just a little payday he's looking for. You can see he still has plans, still has ambitions, and he really has been impressive tonight.
Caught him with the right hand. He's flowing here, Carl Johanneson. Obviously worked on the stamina, and that nutritionist I was mentioning earlier. You know, there was a criticism in his early days that he was a bit lazy, a bit lethargic. Johanneson doesn't look like that tonight. Might be older, but maybe wiser.
Look at that again. Every little attack that breaks off, he's right back up again in Watson's face, not giving him a second to regroup. Straight up again, here he comes.
Fans getting behind Johanneson, always been popular. And maybe he won't get that stoppage win, and that Watson deserves to survive the 8 rounds. Johanneson tries to rev it up again. It's got 1 minute and 20 to survive George Watson. It's going to be a long one, a long minute 20.
Still plenty in the tank of Carl Johanneson. He looks terrific.
Another body shot, almost winced there in pain. Watson biting onto his gum shield. Wants that moral surviving victory. And it's really up to Johanneson whether he gets it.
Well, I'm with you. I would like to see Watson see this out. Again, he's not taking too many full-blooded shots on the chin or on the ribs, which is probably the only reason he's still in there.
Good to see Carl Johanneson winding back the years here. The pit bull, the aggressor, always entertaining. And might just make an interesting addition to a packed super featherweight scene if he can make the weight sensibly again. Not just Crolla, of course, you've got Ricky Burns, Stephen Foster. It's very exciting times. Gary Sykes, Gary Buckland as well. Add Carl Johanneson right back to that list. It's been a good performance here against a brave but outclassed George Watson, who gets to the final bell, and Carl Johanneson gets win number 30, and very comfortably.